Huh? Wait, that's wrong. Next time. All right. And sure, sure. Be right after. I think 91. Yeah. It'll be 94. Sure. Yeah. I'm not sure. صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Inshallah, we'll start Quran recitation. I would like to request everybody to be silent and just listen, please. Thank you. صل على محمد وعلى محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها ولا يخاف عقباها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك. فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك. فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة تسبق الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Ahsan, Brother Amr. Thank you for reciting Quran. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, you all are doing well. It's good to see everybody out here on Saturday night. We're going to have some poetry recitation before Sayyid Jafi's main speech. So for that, I'd like to invite Brother Pervez with the recitation. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوات. چراغ دین ہے شبیر تو ضیا زینب، ہر ایک رخ سے ہے تصویر فاطمہ زینب. وہی ہے فاتح کوفہ، وہی ہے فاتح شام، وہی ہے فاتح کوفہ، وہی ہے فاتح شام. انہی کے خطبے ہیں اسلام کی بقا زینب، چراغ دین ہے شبیر تو ضیا زینب. یزیدیت کے تھپیڑوں میں کشتی دی تھی، یزیدیت کے تھپیڑوں میں کشتی دی تھی باد کرب و بلا اپنا خدا زینب، چراغ دین ہے شبیر تو ضیا زینب. چھپا سکے گی نہ ظلم یزید کو دنیا، چھپا سکے گی نہ ظلم یزید کو دنیا. ہے جہد کرب و بلا کا وہ آئینہ زینب، چراغ دین ہے شبیر تو ضیا زینب. نہ ہوگا تذکرہ کرب و بلا کا ختم کبھی، نہ ہوگا تذکرہ کرب و بلا کا ختم کبھی. فضا میں گونج رہی ہے ایک صدا زینب، چراغ دین ہے شبیر تو ضیا زینب. سوال یہ تھا کہ ہے کون کربلا کا نقیب، سوال یہ تھا کہ ہے کون کربلا کا نقیب. ہر ایک دل نے یہ بے ساخ تھا کہا زینب، چراغ دین ہے شبیر تو ضیا زینب. ہر ایک رخ سے ہیں तस्वीर फातिमा ज़ैनब सलावत
Thank you, Brother Perez, for that recitation. We'll have just a couple announcements before Sayyidas Jockey speaks as well. So first, I'd like to invite Brother Hassan up there, and followed by that, I think we have an announcement by Sister Rehani as well. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Yeah, thank you. So I would like to welcome our guests here. They are also our neighbors, Josh and his wife Bonnie on the ladies' side, and two lovely sons, Ben and Sam. They are here somewhere. So thanks for taking time to come and join our program. Hopefully, you will take away some pearls from here. We hope so. There's another announcement. There is a visual for the neighbors from Interfaith of Texas, IAG, and that is on Monday, 7 p.m. At St. James Episcopal Church, and you got an email, so you can go through that, and they're asking for RSVP, so please do that, and let's show good numbers, because this is for all of us. Thank you very much.
And Sister Rehani, if you're here.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. As I'm sure most of you are aware, with some of the recent political changes, there are a lot of concerns, especially of those in our community, about their rights and travel status. As of yesterday, a federal judge squashed it for now and lifted the travel ban indefinitely. But then, of course, as of about 20 minutes ago, the Department of Justice refiled papers to basically reinstate the travel ban. We are working. So we're actually working with a couple other agencies in Austin to set up some times where there will be immigration attorneys to actually come to IABA, so that those who have questions can come basically ask them. They can look at their papers and get anything that they need cleared up. But inshallah, in the meantime, Refugee Services of Texas is hosting an event on Friday, February 10th from 11 to 2 p.m. It's basically a Know Your Rights info session. It's open to everybody and anybody who has any questions. Their immigration attorneys will be present to basically talk about kind of the current state of what's going on, and again, talk about what applies to who, and basically give them a little bit of knowledge.
And do you have an idea when we're going to get people in?
Until the next couple of weeks.
Okay. So maybe that's the February 10 will happen before.
Yeah, February 10th.
السلام عليكم. بس أنا راح أترجم باللغة العربية. I'll translate to Arabic only. So إلى الجالية العربية إنه صار من 3 أيام الرئيس ترامب قرر الحظر على 7 دول إسلامية، واحد منها العراق وإيران، وصار في بلبلة. حتى امبارح في فدرال قاضي قرر إنه يجمد القرار تبع ترامب. اليوم هلا قبل شوي وزارة الداخلية الأمريكية استأنفت الحكم. فمشان البلبلة إن شاء الله المجمع هون راح يستضيف محاميين 2 يتكلموا عن الوضع إذا حدا عنده أسئلة خلال الأسبوعين القادمين إن شاء الله. بس في ب10 شباط تم فبراير 10 شباط. اوكي في اوكي على تقاطع 183 and 35 هناك في تجمع مشان اللاجئين، وفي محامين يكون هناك. فاذا حدا بده معلومات يتكلم مع الاخت ريحانه وهي تعطيه وين المكان.
The only thing is, just with everything changing, everybody's plans are obviously continuing as they're going forward. My only request is that if you do have members of your community, family members that are abroad who are coming, as of now, again, they're able to come, but please let us know perhaps ahead of time, whether you tell me directly or others, just to get resources ready. One of the things that we saw in Dallas last weekend when I was there, there's a lot of support. There's a lot of people who have no connection to this, have no reason to kind of help us out, but they are there and they're willing to support us, especially in Austin. So if you're expecting family to come or friends or anything, please just let us know ahead of time so that, God forbid, something does happen or they do get detained at the airport, whatever reason, we're already kind of ready to take a stand and get them released as soon as possible.
فإذا يوجد عندكم أهل أو أصدقاء أو أقارب هلا صار فيني يدخلوا البلاد هلا، بس إذا حدا جاي يعطي خبر للأخت ريحانة منشان إذا ما قدروا يدخلوا على الحدود هون يكون في محامين يساعدون إن شاء الله. والسلام عليكم.
Muhammad. Thank you for those announcements. I have just one update. That is, I believe Brother Murza Bhimji and Brother Matthew Kifayati worked hard on installing a new sound system. And that is to improve being able to hear the programs both on the ladies' side, men's side, as well as in the main halls and in the back of IBA. So if we can recite a salawat for them, please. Thank you to them for basically working hard and donating their time towards that. This is the last day Sayyid Asad Jafri is here with us. He's been with us for the last 3 days. It's been very honored. It's the honor of IBA to have you here in Austin, and it's been very educational and beneficial to those people that came here over the last 3 days. And so we hope that you have safe travels back to Canada, and we hope that you come to Austin again, inshallah, and you can bless us with your presence. So without further ado, if everybody can move to the front and recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدرك بعد الحمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين صاحب العصر والزمان خليفة الرحمن إمام الإنس والجان ولعن الله أعداهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد صلوا على محمد وآل محمد As was announced, tonight is my last lecture here at IABA, and let me also express my gratitude to the community and to the youth and to those of you who made this trip very special for me. It was my honor to be here in Austin for the past 3 days. I've learned a lot. It was far more beneficial for me than it was for you, I'm sure. And I am grateful to all of you, for those of you who opened your homes and opened your hearts and fed me and all these things that you did for me. Thank you very much. May Allah increase your risk and increase your tawfiq. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I also wanted to mention one thing to all of you before we get into our actual discussion. When there were plans for me to come and come to Austin and the flight was booked, it was before the travel ban. And even though I was born in Canada, I have a Canadian passport, the ban doesn't really include me. There were a number of people including my own mother, who told me not to go. And they had said that, you don't know what the situation is like in the U.S. You don't know what will happen in the airport. They might detain you. They might do this to you, blah, blah, blah. I heard, Guantanamo Bay, all sorts of things I heard. Yeah. And I obviously came anyways, and there was not a single thing that happened to me at U.S. Customs. He asked me 1 or 2 questions. I answered them, and he let me go. In the 3 days that I have been here, and I'm following the news, and I'm kind of absorbing the city itself, driving around. And, coincidentally, we have a special guest here tonight as well. I think this is, it's a very special time for us, and I say that with a lot of responsibility as an outsider. Your battle right now is a real one. But sometimes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an amazing plan. And sometimes it's to the point where those who yesterday didn't understand us, today are defending us. Let's say, for example, in the Quran it says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدَافِعُ عَنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah says that He will defend those who have faith. Or we have مَكْرُ وَمَكْرُ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They can plot all they want, and you can plot all you want. But ultimately, the best plotter is God Himself. To have a Jewish individual here sitting in our mosque today, after everything that we have been through, 10 years ago it was unheard of. They have their program in their synagogue, we have our program in our mosque. And the funny thing is that, you see these images inside these airports now, keep that in mind, where you have groups of Muslims who are praying in the airport. And you have non-Muslims who are now forming a human barrier to protect them while they pray. Where is this happening? In the airport. In the airport. And so we have individuals who are in power, who perhaps have something else in mind, who wish to create and to lead with fear, who wish to paint this picture of the Deen of Islam as this violent religion. And yet, what they don't realize is that the ultimate planner is Allah. And in places where yesterday you wouldn't see Muslims sometimes even wearing the Islamic garb, you now have individuals praying in that very airports. Where yesterday you wouldn't have, let's say, a Christian or a Jew or a non-Muslim chanting for the survival of Islam in America, the survival of Islam in America, they're now chanting for all of you on the front lines. I mean, images of refugees coming into the airport and people cheering for them. Complete strangers. So yeah, there's this negative cloud right now happening, and right now, sometimes we have a choice. We can focus on that negativity, or we can focus on the positivity. We can focus on the idea that right now Washington's agenda seems to be fear-mongering, because that was his campaign from day number 1. Or we can identify the fact that they can do their best to instill fear inside the hearts of people, but this glow of humanity seems to be getting stronger and stronger every single day. Whether it's the idea of something as simple as sending chocolates to our neighboring synagogues and masjids, whether it's letters of "you belong here," whether it's hashtags, whatever the case may be, the aura that I'm seeing, at least in this city right now, is one that's very positive. Now, I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I'm going back to my country. I don't live here. All of you are right now in the front lines. We can either choose to kind of give into this fear-mongering, or we can choose to build this positivity and trust in God, knowing full well that not only does He defend those who have faith, He defends those who are the madhloom, who are the oppressed, who are targeted, right? And so, understanding this idea that these ambassadors of humanity, these followers of the Abrahamic religion, us Muslims, the Jewish brothers, the Christian brothers, if we come together under this umbrella of God, one book, one human race, then Washington and other government agencies can do all they want. They simply can't defeat us. They cannot lessen the power. All they're doing is that they're awakening a beast that's been asleep for many, many decades. And now, like I said, you have things happening that I never dreamed about happening in the U.S. 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Right? So let's trust the system. And the last thing that I want any of you to do is sacrifice your principles. All of you have worked very hard to establish the deen and the religion in this part of the world. You've come from your respective countries. You've made that difficult hijrat and migration here. You've worked odd jobs, 7 days a week, night shift, all sorts of jobs just to feed your family, just to pay the mortgage. All of you want to establish your life here. You want to give back as citizens, right? We're not going to allow anyone to take that from us, right? This is a place we call home. This is what plan A is. There is no plan B. And so we need to, attend the vigils. We need to now come out. We need to now speak out a little bit. We need to now be a little bit more friendly. Where I'm staying, I'd wear this libas, this clothing, and go in and out of the lobby of the hotel I'm staying at. And I would feel a little bit like the whole world's watching me as I'm walking to my room. And yet every individual I pass by, nothing but a smile, nothing but a greet. How are you? Good. How are you? And I become extra nice, right? Hey, how are you? Good. Wink and gun, everything. I lay it on thick. I'm great. How are you, sir? That's right? Because I have the clothes on. Right? But I'm expecting someone to give me a bad look, to whisper, to call me this, to call me that, and I have not seen any of that. And that's all God's plan. Right? That's all God's plan. So inshallah, with the help of Allah, with the prayers of God, with our friends beside us, they don't realize how much you're empowering us. They don't realize that how much now, for the first time in a long time, we no longer feel isolated in this country. Right? We feel like we have backup, right? Like we feel like we can look Washington in the face and say, oh yeah, I got my boys behind me. Right? And that's what we need to do. We need to always focus on the positive, believe in humanity, work towards love, compassion. I know it sounds very flaky, but that's what our weapon is. Our weapon is not anything else but humanity, right? Kill them with kindness, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, our discussion has been revolving around from Thursday, because this is, of course, these are the days of the birth of the great lady Sayyida Zainab salamun alayha, and as we know, one of her titles is Ummul Masa'ib, the mother of hardships, the mother of musibah. And we started a discussion on Thursday, those of you who are with me. We talked a little bit about the philosophy of struggles in this world and the reality of this dunya in this world, and how we have to be able to intake the hardship and output the worship. To take the struggle, add to it, subtract to it, manipulate it, form it, shape it, shake it, so that we give it back to Allah and God as a form of worship. The reality is that this dunya won't leave us alone. I talked about the fact that you can be a young kid right now, you can be the grandfather of that young child. There isn't a stage in this dunya, that this world, that they will allow you to be completely at peace. Like I said on Thursday, as many people as there are in this room, there are that many stories of struggles in this world. A lot of you right now are fighting your own fight right now. A lot of you right now are fighting this world right now. You come in with a great smile, you meet, you greet, you shake hands, you hug, but inside, God knows your situation. Inside this quiet and silent suffering, God understands how difficult your life is. And we established on Thursday this idea that one of the things that we have to understand is that while this dunya throws everything at us, we must maintain our iman and faith during that hardship. Because sometimes, when things get rocky inside of our life, right? When things become very difficult, we lose our job, we become sick, God forbid. Our marriage becomes a little bit rocky. The environment inside the home is very, very tense. Our parents are sick back home. We can't travel there. All these things, of course, eat away at us. And sometimes the first thing that is sacrificed is our faith in God. And we start to, speak words of shirk and kufr. How could you, God? How dare you, God? Who are you to do this to me, God? So on and so on and so forth. And we begin to challenge that very system of government, God meaning, that we were leaning on just yesterday. And how many times have we seen people who are flying on the path towards Allah, a little bit of a speed bump, a crack in the road, and they've taken a detour and they're long gone from the deen. And that's not what Ummul Masa'ib is all about, right? When she summed up the entire musibat of the day of Ashura, She took it in under one statement, right? وَمَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. I saw nothing but beauty. The gory details that we hear of the musibah inside the month of Muharram and Safar, of bodies being trampled and arrows being flung and arms being cut off, these are all gory details. Our hearts break, our eyes water. We can't contain the emotion. But yet there she stood on Til Zainabiyya, 70 steps away from that famous spot where Imam Hussein was killed, and she saw everything with her eyes. And yet she equated everything to nothing but beauty. You take that hardship and you give it back as worship towards Allah. Or we have Amir al-Mu'mineen who struck with the sword, a poisonous sword of Ibn Muljam on the morning of the 19th of Ramadan. What does he announce? What does he announce? He says, "What fustu Rabbil Kaaba? I swear by the Lord of Kaaba, I am successful. I am kamyab," as they say in Urdu. I would challenge Imam Ali that you had several chances in your life to announce your success. He killed 70 kuffar in Badr. He could have announced his success. He was kullu iman in the war of Ahzab and Khandaq. He could have announced his success. The day of Ghadir, the door of Khaybar, whatever the case, but there are many opportunities for him to announce his success, and yet he's hit by a poisonous sword, by a man who gave bay'ah to him on Ghadir. And the only thing out of his mouth was the announcement of his success. Why? Let's try to understand this for a moment. After the first war of Islam, the war of Badr, during the Holy Prophet's time, the Prophet after the war is giving a sermon to those families who lost their loved ones in the war, talking about the fadilat and the greatness of shahadat in Islam, of martyrdom in Islam. Talked about the maqam and the level of a shaheed. What is a shaheed? How glorified is a shaheed in the eyes of Allah? And after the khutbah is done, Imam Ali is seen very upset, off to the side. The Prophet asked him, "Ali, what's wrong?" He says, "Ya Rasulullah, was I not good enough to be shaheed in this war? Why was I not chosen? Why was I not chosen to give my life in this war? Why did God spare me?" And then he says to Ali that there'll come a time where your white beard will be stained with your own blood. There'll come a time where you will also taste Shahadat, Ali. And the question Imam Ali is asking the Holy Prophet is a beautiful one. He doesn't ask who will happen, when will it happen, where. No, none of that matters to him. He just says, when that happens, will I be on the right path or not? Will I have this sense of yaqeen and certainty in the deen or not? This dunya threw everything at our first Imam. Everything at our first Imam. From the moment the Prophet of Allah left this world until the moment that he was struck with the sword, this dunya pounced on him, whispered at him, took everything away from him. You know, we believe, oh, the sabr of Ali, the patience of Ali, the silence of Ali, almost as if there was no emotion involved. Pick up khutbah Shaykh Shaqiyya Nahj Balagh, khutbah number 3. Read the pain of Amir al-Mu'mineen in that khutbah. He compares the khilafah to what? To a shirt. It says, you put on a shirt that doesn't even fit you. You forced it on. The buttons don't button nothing, but yet you wore it. It was my shirt, yet you wore it. I sat there and I waited for my God-given right to be given back to me. The old died off. The young became old. I'm still waiting for my God-given rights. That's painful. Then he says, if I pull out my sword and defend my God-given right, people will say I'm hungry for power. I'm greedy for fame and fortune. If I put the sword away, they'll say I'm fearful of death. That's not pain? Not 1 year, not 2 years, not 1 decade, 2.5 decades. He sat there in a state where he says, I have an arrow in my eye and a bone in my throat. That's painful. When someone like Abu Sufyan, the biggest arch enemy of Islam, is coming to Ali and saying, Ali, this khilafat, you know, doesn't belong to them. It's the Bani Hashims. You say the word, and we'll get it back for you. Now, for someone like me, at that moment, emotion running high, I want my God-given right, I want that khilafat, I say, yeah, doesn't matter who you are, just get it back for me. Instantly, he rejects this proposal by Abu Sufyan, saying that this happened because someone like you. The very first civil war in Islam happens under the Khilafat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. When finally the Ummah got their senses right and begged Ali to become their Khalifa, 4.5 years of his Khilafat was riddled with 3 civil wars. Siffin, Jamal, Nahrawan. And then of course he's struck with a poisonous sword by a man who up until the war of Siffin was right beside him, Ibn Muljam. You're telling me that if Ali left the path, if Ali says, look, God, with all due respect, I've had enough. I can't do this Islam thing anymore. He would be justified to do that. Nobody would question him. In every step of the way, his yaqeen certainly grew and doubled, and his love in Allah increased. With every musibat and every hardship, he got stronger and stronger and stronger. To the point where once he was struck with that sword, he says, now I'm successful. When I had the opportunity to leave the path and reject Allah, instead I grew towards Allah, even though everything the dunya threw at me, at that moment now for them to kill me because of this very fact is my success. Remember, when individuals can't battle you one-on-one with the mind, they can't argue with you about your faith. They can't sit you and debate with you intellectually about why what you believe in is wrong. What do? They do propaganda against you. What do? They spread lies about you. What do? They make others fearful of you, hate you. What do? They actually ban people from that religion into entering this country. What are you scared of? If you have a problem with what I believe in, sit down at the table. Let's talk intellectually. You're an academic, so am I. Let's talk about this. These bans and these media outlets and this money being spent and this supporting the enemies of Islam with billions and billions of dollars is all a sign of weakness, with all due respect. It's all a sign of defeat, which is imminent. When Muawiyah couldn't fight Ali, when Muawiyah couldn't debate Ali, what did he resort to? He resorted to starting a custom where with anybody who would deliver a sermon, a poem, a speech on the minbar, you would first have to send la'nat on Ali and then begin your piece. For 99 years, they started that. They dragged the man's name through mud. Why? Because they couldn't defeat him. When Abu Sufyan couldn't defeat the Holy Prophet, he begged the Holy Prophet, look, just stop announcing the idea of one God, one God, one God. Why? I not only worship idols, I manufacture them. It's my source of income, it's my source of worship. When they couldn't beat the man, they gave everything at the Holy Prophet. You want money? We'll give you money. You want fortune? We'll give you fortune. You want the government? We'll give you. Want women? We'll give you women. Just stop preaching one God, one God, one God. And then he says, what? Very famously, you give me the moon in one hand and the sun in the other, I won't leave my mission. So they resort to what? They resort to dirty tactics, man. Calling the man a sahir, a magician. Calling the man majnoon, lunatic, na'udhu billah. Dragging his name through the mud. Throwing feces at him, throwing garbage at him, putting thorns and tacks where he prays to the point where his knees and his palms would be bloody by the time he came home. If that wasn't enough, they still couldn't fight the man. They would banish him from Mecca. Throw sanctions on him upon sanctions upon sanctions. Sanctions don't work back then. Sanctions don't work today either, I'm sorry. For 3 years in Shibr Abu Talib, the most difficult time of the Prophet's mission, he never left his faith. He moved to Medina. Then they attacked him. They tried to kill the man. Everything. Then they thought, okay, when Muhammad dies, the deen will die with him. We celebrate Ghadir because Ghadir is not only the announcement of successorship of Amir al-Mu'mineen, it's the baqa of the deen as well. It's the continuation of the deen as well. It's the announcement of the hopelessness of the enemies of Islam. Always remember one thing, when your enemy cannot defeat you at the mind level, they resort to cheap tactics. And instead of you becoming upset and depressed and worried and rocking in a corner clutching your pillow, you should crack a smile and feel sorry for them and pray for them and say, you know what? You've already been defeated. You've already been made a fool out of. You're scared of little old me? You're scared of my grandmother in Syria? You're scared of my handicapped uncle in Iran? Did you see these pictures of wheelchair people being detained? In wheelchairs. 5-year-olds being detained. What is your fear, Baba? What will they do if they come here? And why are you so weak in your ideology that you cannot fight the likes of a 95-year-old in a wheelchair? If that's not defeat, I have no idea what is. So celebrate your victory. Smirk in the mirror and say, you know what? For all those times that I did my best to bring my child here, to drive half an hour, to give everything I have, I'm barely hand to mouth, Sayyid, but I gave half of my paycheck for the light bill, for the carpet, for the bike system, whatever the case may be. I did all of that so I can establish my religion here. And every time you did that, you're weakening the enemy bit by bit by bit, to the point now where they have to resort to desperate tactics. Like the likes of Muawiyah and Abu Sufyan and Yazid, who wouldn't even leave a 6-month-old child alone. These are all defeated individuals back then and today as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we're not going to run from the hardship and the struggle of this dunya. No way. We welcome it. We ask for it. The Holy Prophet would complain to Allah. Can you imagine? If for 3 days life was perfect, if for 3 days there was not a single problem in the Prophet's life, he would complain to Allah, have you forgotten about me? Have you left me alone? He would equate hardships to the dhikr of Allah for him. So yes, there's no shortage of hardships in this world. There's no shortage of musibah and struggles in this world. And I'm sorry to say, like I said on Thursday, there won't be. The dunya and shaitan has promised to what? Constantly be a thorn on your side. Satan promised God from day number 1, I'm going to be at their left, their right, behind them, everywhere you go. And believe me, Satan is not found in the discos and the casinos. He has his boys already there working overtime. He's found amongst you, sitting beside you sometimes. Not right now, literally. I mean, in overall. Especially nowadays, when he kind of whispers in your ear of everything that's going on. So gotta be firm. We have to stay strong. And we have to always remember that you are given rights in this country. Simply exercise them. We'd never, ever promote anything beyond what the government and the law gives us. We are never people who take the law into our own hands. The Shias are known in the world, you should know this, in the world, you know, that they don't take things into their own hands. Yes, they will scream. Yes, they will yell. Yes, they will chant. Yes, they will block traffic. We do that the best. We block our own traffic. We block downtown traffic as well. But we never take lives into our own hands. We never take up arms. We never, God forbid, promote violence. But we also won't be quiet as well. Wasn't the way of the imams, wasn't the way of our shuhada, weren't the way of our ulama, isn't the way of today either. And God has promised that those who have muqawimat, as they say in Farsi, those who resist, Allah what? تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. He'll send you angels to help you. He'll announce your victory. Don't fear, don't worry. I have good news for Jannat for you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So understanding that part of the process of hardships is the idea that it builds our perfection. What I want to speak about tonight, can you imagine? I haven't started yet. Can you imagine? That was all the pregame show. Yeah, get comfortable. Thank you. It's okay. I'm leaving tomorrow, so you can get mad at me all you want. Doesn't matter. Is the idea of Islamic perfection. We were created to be perfect. All of you have heard that many, many times. Now, what that means, how can we achieve that? That's a whole discussion. Let's discuss it to a certain degree, inshallah. We'll do our best that in the limited time that we have to get to some conclusion. To understand this, first of all, we know that to be perfect in Islam is not the idea to be infallible in Islam. Kamal is not isma. Perfection is not infallibility. Right? God does not want us to be sinless. I'm not giving you a ticket to sin, but I'm saying that it's delusional to think that Allah wants me to be completely infallible like those imams. No, of course not. And all of you know that, mashallah. So what is perfection in Islam? Let's discuss to a certain degree. But first, let's understand two words in the Arabic language that are very close in meaning, but very different in understanding. One is tamam, one is kamal. All of you are with me, inshallah? Those on the wall? Those in the back? Inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Are you okay, my friend? Alhamdulillah. Fantastic. I don't want to worry him. Yeah. First and last time I'm coming. The speaker that's usually here is far more calmer and a little bit smaller than I am, so it's okay. Don't get too worried. It's okay. Only this will shake. Nothing else will shake. Don't worry. Tamam and Kamal. Follow me, please, for a moment. It's a very beautiful discussion. For lack of a better translation, Tamam means completion. Kamal means perfection. While they are sort of like a ham ma'ana, they're very, very different. For example, I'll give you a very simple example. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The AC won't help when you have these beaming lights right on my forehead. So you can put on the AC all you want, but it's not going to help. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, inshallah. I don't know how the real estate market is here in the US, but in Canada, you can either buy a house straight from the builder, or you can buy a pre-owned house already. So you would, let's say, builders would announce that, okay, you know, this house complex is coming in 2018. The closing is June of 2018. We're selling the lots right now. So you would go, they have a map, and you would kind of, you know, pick a lot that you wanted. You would do everything you need in terms of the mortgage and the bank and the finances, down payment, whatever the case may be, and then they'll tell you after about a year, the house is yours. The closing is June 13, 2018, for example. Not sure how it is here. So let's say your wife and I go, your wife and you go. I have no intention of taking your wife anywhere, I promise. Ya Allah. Sorry, it's first and last time, I know, I'm sorry. We don't promote that here, yeah, sorry. You came at a wrong time. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Ya Allah. Knowing my luck, my wife is watching this live stream right now, knowing my luck, yeah. So let's say your wife and you go to the builder, and this is your first house, mashallah, and you choose a lot. And everything is in order. Down payment is done, the bank approves your mortgage. And come June 30th, 2018, the builder calls you and says, Mr. Rizvi, your house is ready. Come and get your keys, mashallah. So you go and you pick up the keys and you know, you enter the house, and the house is complete. Everything that needs to be in there is in there. Three bedrooms and bathrooms, the stairs, the floor, the carpet, the cabinets, the doorknobs, everything is there. The house is complete. But in the corners you see there are some patches where there is paint missing. The toilet upstairs doesn't flush properly. The cabinets are not the color that your wife had chosen. The faucets don't open and close very easily. The backyard door you have to really pull to open. So while it's complete, it's not perfect. While it's complete, it's not perfect. Now in Canada, you're given a 2-year warranty from the builder. That for 2 years, whatever issue you have, it'll be covered by us. So you and your wife go with a sticky pad and a paper, and you go around and you put up little sticky pads everywhere where there's a problem, right? Patch of paint missing here, for example, wrong color carpet, and you stick it up there. And then you call the guy to come and inspect. This is wrong, that's wrong, this. And for 2 years, follow me. For 2 years, you perfect the completion of the house. You perfect the completion of the house. And after 2 years now, the way that you want the house, is how it is. It's complete, it's also perfect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed an ayat of the Quran on the day of Ghadir. And he uses these words a little bit carefully. It says what? Al-yawm akmalta lakum deenakum wa atmamtum alaykum ni'mati. Follow me very carefully, please. He says, on this day I have perfected your religion and completed your blessing. Kamal for the deen, tamam for the ni'mat. Now they say completion is when all the parts of the whole are where they should be. But perfection is a vertical journey up the vertical plane. He says, with the wilayat and the announcement of the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, I have completed the deen. Meaning what? That up until Ghadir, everything was in place except for one piece missing. So the deen wasn't perfect yet. With the announcement of the successorship of the Holy Prophet, Allah says, I perfected your deen now. It's perfect. Don't touch it. Don't change it. Don't modify it. Don't come in and mess around the Sharia and add this and subtract this. No, it's perfect. The blessing of the fact that I've given you this wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, I've completed for you. Your job throughout your life is to perfect the completion of that wilayat. Does that make sense so far? So perfection is an ongoing process. Understanding tamam and kamal. There are things that are complete but not perfect. It's not possible to be perfect and incomplete. Okay? Let me give you another example. What is perfection? Perfection, first of all, is relative to everybody. There's not one standard definition of what a perfect Muslim is. Everyone has their own definition. Everyone has their own journey. The example I'll give you is a mountain and mountain climbers. This mountain is the deen of Islam. Mountain climbers at the bottom. The mountain climber chooses his own route up the mountain. Some people go straight up from the side, from the back. Some people go from diagonally. Some people go across. Some people go up, down, whatever the case may be. Everyone has their own journey up this mountain of Islam. Every single one of you in this room, you have your own specific journey towards Allah. There are some of you who find Allah in various means. For example, follow me. There are some of you who find God, Allah, through knowledge. You read books and books and books on Khuda Shinasi and Tawheed and Ma'rifat of Allah, and you read volumes of some of the big scholars, and in that you find the existence of God inside of you. That's fine, that's one path. There are some of you who say, look, no matter how much I read about Allah, I can't understand Allah until I'm in sajda and I prostrate to Allah. And my head is on the ground, subhana rabbil a'la wa bihamdih. The more I worship Allah, the more I find God inside of me. That's one path. One path is ilm, one path is knowledge. One path is worship. One path is a tragedy. Some of you have faced extreme tragedies. You've lost loved ones. You've been infected with a disease, for example. Right? God forbid your family fell apart. Whatever the case may be. And sometimes people react to a tragedy by getting their act together and going back towards Allah. So one is knowledge, one is worship, one is tragedy, one is ziyarat. For example, you go to Karbala, go to Najaf, it changes your life. You go for Hajj, it changes your life, right? One trip, all of a sudden, you found Allah. And you accomplished what no book and no musalla and no tragedy could do. One walk from Najaf to Karbala and labbaik ya Allah, I'm there. And so on and so on and so forth. Everyone's journey in this room to Allah is specific to you. Ask yourself right now, in your mind, what triggers my path towards Allah? When is it that I am most in tune with Allah? Is it during a speech? Is it during the fact that I read a verse of the Quran? Is it during worship? Is it during whatever the case? Is it when I play with my kids? Or talk to my spouse? Or serve my mother, for example? Or when I go to Najaf or Mashhad, for example? Whatever the case may be, everyone's journey up the mountain is separate and exclusive to you and to you alone. Please follow me. I'm trying to build something here. Now, this is the tricky part. With every path to Allah, that same path could lead to shaitan. I'll say it again. With every path to Allah, that same path can lead to shaitan. I'll give you an example. Knowledge. Knowledge can lead you towards Allah. Knowledge can also be a hijab and a veil for you to lead you towards shaitan. Right? Al-ilmu hijab al-akbar, sometimes the saying says that ilm, knowledge, is a major veil. Sometimes. Right? There are people who, with their knowledge, it should be something else, but they use that knowledge to puff out their chest and to walk 2 feet up off the ground and have their heads in the cloud. Why? Because they're Mr. PhD or Miss MD or Miss this, or let's say a scholar. And while that knowledge should humble you, it makes you more egotistical. Right? Rumi has the example of Nabi Nuh and his son's story, Noah and his son. Sometimes knowledge can lead you towards Allah. Sometimes knowledge can lead you towards shaitan. What's that story? All of you know the story. He begs Allah, Nabi Nuh does, that Allah, please let me save my son. Let me save my son. Let me save my son. He goes when the rain begins to fall. He goes seeking his son. He sees his son on top of a mountain. And Nabi Nuh is begging him, please come with me. Nobody will be spared in this punishment. And Rumi says, he says to his father, it's okay, father, I know how to swim. I know how to swim. And Rumi leaves us with a line. He says, if only the son of Nabi Nuh didn't know how to swim. The knowledge of swimming became what? A veil for the son of Nabi Nuh. He couldn't see the reality. All he thought was, I'll swim out of it. So yeah, sometimes as great as ilm and knowledge is, it can be an avenue for shaitan. Think about those people who, when they started off, let's say their medical route, let's say before they were pre-med, nice, humble guy, mashallah. Now, they're a surgeon. If you call them by their first name, no, it's doctor. Okay? Sorry, doctor. That's one route. What about worship? Ibadat. Worship should lead you towards Allah, correct? You do salat and you fast in the heat of Austin, Texas. You give your khums away, everything. You go for hajj. All that should lead you towards Allah. No doubt, sometimes worship leads us towards shaitan. Sometimes that very worship that should be for Allah, we do it for others. Do we not? We compare our salats when we're in the masjid, when everyone's watching, that same salat behind a closed door inside of our house. Here, everyone's watching now, mashallah, right? Everyone's watching, right? So, Allahu Akbar. Long qunuts. Big tasbihs. At home, sometimes we read so fast, the water from the wudu isn't even dry yet. And we're done. Back up, fold up, khalas, let's move on. Why? No one's watching. Not everybody, some people. This disease of riyah. Riyah is what? This over-exaggeration of your own piety. It's a problem. Right? What was supposed to be fi sabilillah on the path towards Allah is fi sabilinnas on the path of people. To the point where when we are given our book of deeds on the day of judgment and we're flipping through it, we think, wait a second, there are pages missing here, God. On this date, at that place, at this month, I did this deed. Why isn't that not written here? He goes, whoa, wait a second now. This is a book of deeds you've done for me. You did that deed for that person. You want a reward? Go ask him for the reward. Don't ask me. You didn't do it for me. The most difficult battle that we face is sincerity and khulus. Believe you and me. To do things exclusively for Allah and not want a pat on your back, not want the applause, not want your name, not want a plaque, not want anything is a very difficult task. Oh my God, the narcissist inside of us sometimes screams at us. Really? You're a madrasa teacher and they forgot to call your name on awards day? And you're gonna leave that alone? No, you throw a ruckus, man. I'm a main teacher. I want my name on a plaque. And when they try to give it to you behind closed doors, no. The next big program, I want you to call me in the front. I want a salawat for me. I want pictures done. I'll take my own selfie. Don't worry. All these things is now, 10 months of teaching now for what? For a moment of a plaque. Becomes very difficult. They say there was a man who used to live beside the masjid. He used to live beside the masjid. And every single day, there was 5 times of prayer in that mosque. And he would be there, right behind the imam. Every single salat, he would run to get that spot behind the imam, right? There's some people, right, that spot is for that person, right? If someone else sits there, they become all itchy and all bothered, like, why is that person in my spot? They'll sit close and they'll kind of nudge him aside, and trust me, I've seen everything. Until they say one day this man came late. One day he came late. He found himself in the last row of the Jama'at. And he says that for 30 years, all those years that I was running to the masjid to sit behind the imam, I was not praying for Allah. I was praying for what? To be behind the imam, because that's the second best spot in the Jama'at. The one day I found myself back here, I realized that that salat in the back corner where nobody saw me was the most sincere salat I've had for 30 years. It's hard, man. So worship should lead you towards God, sometimes goes towards shaitan. Knowledge and worship. What about hardship? What about worship? What about tragedies? Tragedies, like I said on Thursday, sometimes lead to kufr and shirk, disbelief, hypocrisy. We challenge Allah. Allah, I was the chair lady. I was the president. I was head of operations. I was the principal of the madrasa. I served your deen. I opened this place. I washed this place. I vacuumed this place. I did everything, and you repay me by giving my mother cancer? You repay me by taking my father away from me when I needed him the most? How could you? How dare you? Sometimes a spark, a tragedy that should lead you towards Allah, leads us away from Allah. And so on and so on and so forth. Every path up the mountain is the same path down the mountain. Every path towards Allah is the same path towards shaitan. So what is perfection? Here's perfection in a nutshell. Perfection is that when you are on that path towards Allah, there will be forces that will pull you towards the path of shaitan, that will waswasa inside of your ears, that will whisper to you and tell you what? Look, man, you are a good mu'min. You pray. Look at this thing on your forehead. It's getting bigger and bigger, mashallah. Tell the people. You know, there's a very, very, very beautiful hadith. It says that the act, the good act that's done in complete secrecy, where no one knows it but you and Allah, has the highest reward. Has the highest reward. And that's the most difficult act there is. Imagine now for a moment, again, these are very simple examples. Sorry, I had very simple examples. Imagine for a moment you are, I don't know, driving by IABA, you have the keys. You decide to pop in and see everything's okay. Now, you see the carpet, you walk in, it's dirty. There's a program tonight. You want to make sure that it's clean. So you grab the vacuum. Nobody sees you, right? The lights are off, you open the door, everything, and you begin to vacuum. And you clean this entire carpet from corner to corner. It's spotless. You close the door, close light, and you drive home. Nobody knows, not your wife, not your kids, nobody. You and God knows what, that you vacuumed the carpet and prepped it for tonight. Now you come that night to the program, and people are raving about the carpet. I've never seen it so clean at IABA before. This carpet looks brand new. It still has the vacuum marks on it. You know those vacuum marks that your mom wants when the guests come over? Time it so that it looks like it's been vacuumed. I want those marks. The marks are still on there. And you hear people, I wonder what happened. I wonder, we don't have a cleaning service. We have nobody here. I wonder who did it. Maybe the angels came. Maybe the jinn came to clean it. Who knows what's happening? And you're just going crazy. And the voice inside says, just tell them it was you. Just tell one person. Just tell one person. It's okay. It won't kill you. It's still a good deed. Just tell them. You know you want to. Just tell them. So you pull a person aside. You know what? Actually, I was the person who vacuumed. This is what happened. It happens all the time. Believe me. Now that act that was done in secrecy is still a good act. One person knows, right? But that felt so good when there was like, mashallah, you vacuumed this carpet? It felt great. You had that applause. You want that what? 10 times again. So 1 becomes 10. 10 becomes 20. Now the entire community knows that for 1 day out of the year, you vacuum the carpets. And now what was once an act done in complete secrecy that earned the pleasure of Allah, you have now pleased shaitan. Because you've pumped your ego, because you vacuumed some carpet. That's the battle that we have inside of us. And perfection, Islamic perfection, is an ongoing climb up the vertical plane towards Allah. Where every time that voice, every time shaitan, every time Satan comes and tries to convert your good deeds into bad deeds, you ward them off and you stay on the path. You don't allow your direction to change. No U-turns, no reroutes, no detours, no left turn, no right turn. Stay in the path. It's not a race, it's a journey up the mountain. You could be going 20 miles an hour, I don't care, but you're going in the right direction. You'd be going 200 miles an hour, but you're going the wrong direction. You're going further and further away from your from your destination. So Islamic perfection, which is helped by hardships in this world, is what? The process to identify, number one, your path towards God, knowledge, worship, hardship, Karbala, Najaf, whatever the case may be, and then ensure that it doesn't become a path towards shaitan. We have countless examples, by the way, of individuals who were on the right path, beside the imams, a companion beside the prophet, and at the very last moment, shaitan got the best of him. We have companions during the time of Imam Hussein that no doubt we respect, we send our salams to. We claim every Thursday night that no other person had the ashab that Imam Hussein had. And we beg, فَيَا لَيْتَنِي كُنْتُ مَعَكُمْ فَأَفُوزَ مَعَكُمْ. If only I was with you, I would attain success like they did. But not all his so-called companions were worthy of respect. There were some who actually accompanied him all the way to Karbala and left before the day of Ashura. The name that I often use is Dahak. Dahak Mashraqi was a very famous individual. When the plan was made for Imam Hussein to leave Mecca and go towards Kufa, he would seek people out and give them a chance to accompany him towards Kufa. And there were some people who would welcome that. There were some people who would avoid Imam Hussein in the streets of Medina. Cross the street when he was coming, avoid eye contact, right? Hide into an alley. Do something, because if the Imam is asking, you say no, there's problems with that. Imam Hussein approaches Dahak, says, Dahak, you know I'm going to Kufa. He goes, yes, I know. I'm taking a whole tribe with me. Are you going to come with me and support my cause? Look at the conversation now between him and Dahak. He says, Imam Hussein, I'll come with you. But on one condition. And that condition is what? That the moment that I think that my life is in danger, I want my freedom to come back to Medina. He says, no problem. I mean, I don't force anybody. Of course, go. Done. So this man, can you imagine now? Just try to imagine this for a moment. This man accompanies Imam Hussein from the 28th of Rajab all the way to the 2nd of Muharram when he arrives in Karbala. That long, drawn-out journey. Traveled with the Imam. Ate with the Imam. Talked to the Imam. Prayed behind the Imam. Saw the Imam's akhlaq during travel, saw him with his kids and his children and his wives, all of that. And yet when it came to the 8th of Muharram, 2 days before Ashura, he's seeing thousands on one side and maybe a handful, maybe 100 on one side. And then he comes to Imam Hussein and says, Imam, we had a deal, right? He goes, yeah, we did. Well, I'm seeing 30,000 here and you barely have 100. The chances are not looking good for you. I'm going to cash in on my deal if that's okay with you. If it's okay with you, I want to go back to Medina. He goes, no problem. He goes, you're free to go. I don't force anybody here. I don't have a horse or a camel or any mode for you to go back. He says, it's okay. I've arranged for my own transportation. I've kept the horse handy on the side just in case this happens. And this man mounted that horse and he went back to Medina. 2 days away from being the ashab of the day of Ashura. 2 days away. Traveling with the Imam. On the path, a little bit of fear, and he flipped. And this was a man who saw the Imam, lived with the Imam, sat beside the Imam. You and I don't have that luxury. So we're using every tool we can this dunya throws at us to perfect ourselves. And one of the biggest ways is hardships. hardships, struggles, difficulties, problems are used not for us to be weak and deficient and, God forbid, faithless, but to build our faith, to strengthen our faith, and to perfect our faith. To the point that once I identify this path up the mountain, I will not allow anything to break that, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now, how do we do that? One last point and then into Masadua. I'll give you the example of this microphone. Now, this microphone is controlled by the controls in this big black mysterious box over here. I have no idea what's in there, but Rizvi goes in there, he does something, comes out, and some things happen magically. AC turns on and the mic turns on. Right now, let's say this microphone is on 10, is on the max volume. Okay? I can either scream and you'll hear me, or I could whisper and you'll still hear me. Even the ones in the back who are fast asleep right now, they could hear me if I whisper. Sorry to wake you up. They could hear me. But if Rizvi goes and turns the mic to 1, if I scream, you might hear me. If I whisper, you can't hear me. The whisper hasn't changed. The volume of the mic has changed. Correct? Yeah, thank you. I like that. We also know that there are constantly 2 whispers inside of our ears. One is satanic, one is divine in nature. One invites us towards evil, one invites us towards good. That classic battle between evil and good is constant. And all they are whispers. God doesn't force you, and Satan doesn't force you. All they do is they suggest. Now, the controls of your microphone, of each whisper, is in your hands. If you choose to put the microphone of the divine whisper on 10, it could be the lowest of whispers. You'll hear it as if he's screaming at you. If you choose to put Shaitan's mic on 10, it could be the faintest of whispers. It's like he's yelling at you. So all we have to do is very simple. Take Shaitan's mic, put it on 1. Take Allah's mic, put it on 10. How do we do that? Several ways. One such way is to surround yourself with the right people. What's called the circle of influence. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allahumma salli ala. He says that a group of friends is such that there are multiple bodies attached to one soul. We have pages and pages of traditions that talk about who to befriend, who not to befriend. The power of friendship, the influence of friendship. To the point where it's actually to the point like this, where there's a verse in the Quran that talks about the idea that those who will be dragged into the hellfire will complain about one thing in this dunya. One thing, and I'll end with this. One thing in this dunya they'll complain about. Not the parents, not the environment, not the West, not this, not the president, nobody. They'll say, if only I didn't take fulanan khalila. If only I didn't take that one person as my friend. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be in this predicament right now where I'm being dragged towards the hellfire. I cannot tell you from my own experience, being born and raised in Toronto, the people that you choose to spend your time with outside your family will define who you are, will help you control your mic controls. There's a reason why your parents are so obsessed with who your friends are. Invite them over, call them over, let me find out who their parents are. They want you to make friends inside the center. Why? Because they don't want you to be influenced the other way. Okay, so if we want to do this practically speaking, we want to make sure that we do what? We don't allow Shaitan to overpower us. Shaitan will whisper. That whisper has to be a low faint. It can't be a booming voice inside of us. So in conclusion, when it comes to hardships and struggles, in the light of, say, the Zainab celebration, we want to make sure we use those hardships to build the platform of our perfection. And perfection is to what? To choose our path towards Allah and ensure it's pointed towards Allah and don't allow it to convert itself towards the path of Shaitan. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We beg you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to inspire us, to give us that tawfiq, to become better followers of the deen of Islam, inshallah. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we live in very difficult times, trying times. There seems to be a hijack on humanity and on the religion of God, be it the Abrahamic faith or be it any other faith. We ask you, Allah, to give us that strength to stay on the path, to not waver from the path, to not weaken from the path, inshallah. We ask you to forgive our sins and those sins of our parents too, inshallah. We ask you, Allah, to weaken the hands of the enemies of Islam, to weaken the hands of the enemies of humanity, inshallah, to strengthen those who are fighting the fight right now on the front line. And finally, we ask you, Allah, that in our lifetime, inshallah, that we witness the zuhur of Imam al-Zamana and we become his companions when he comes, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
زيارة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا قاسم بن حسن ويا هاني بن عروة، يا حبيب بن مظاهر، يا مسلم بن عقيل ويا مسلم بن أوسجة، السلام عليك يا هر الشهيد رياهي ساداتي ومولاي جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس، السلام عليك أيها المدفون بأرض توس، السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا قائم الكفر والطغيان، السلام عليك يا ضعف الظلم والعدوان، السلام عليك يا مزهر الإيمان، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهور الأمر ورحمة الله وبركاته.